People ask me this probably more than anything else. Who's the greatest I ever saw? And honestly, I mean, I've never given the same answer twice. You know, I've played some of them, I've coached one of them, and now I get to watch the next ones every single day, standing on the sideline as a captain instead of a player. So I don't know, maybe that's why I keep coming back to five names. Let me start with the one who made me who I was. The first time I ever saw him, really saw him, we were kids, 12 years old, something like that, on a hard court. And, I rolled up with my dad in this big green Cadillac, and I already had that whole rock star thing going, the hair, the attitude. And Pete just stood there, skinny kid, quiet. I don't even remember who won that match, honestly, but I remember him. There was something in the way he carried himself even then, like he already knew who he was going to become. Years later, we became this whole story. The whole sport kind of built itself around us for a while. And it's funny because we were oil and water, the two of us. He was quiet, I was loud. He served and volleyed. I stood on the baseline and tried to take the racket out of his hands before he could use it. Two completely different ideas of what tennis was supposed to look like. And I think that's exactly why it worked, why people cared so much. I'll tell you the moment that stays with me though, Wimbledon, 99. I just come off the best stretch of tennis of my life. I just won Roland Garros. I was playing out of my mind. And I walk onto grass against Pete, and he was untouchable. Every big point, every single one, he had an answer. I never saw a break point the entire match, not one that mattered. And I remember saying to the press afterward, he played some impeccable tennis at the most important moments, and I just didn't have better stuff than he did that day. That's as simple as I can put it. Some guys raise their level when it matters. Pete didn't raise it. He lived up there. What people don't always see is what happened off the court. We'd talk, not all the time, but we respected each other in a way that didn't need a lot of words. He said something once after our last match, the 2002 US Open final, that I think about a lot. He said, I made him a better player, that I forced him to add things to his game that nobody else could force out of him. And I felt exactly the same way about him. We needed each other, genuinely. The way Borg and McEnroe needed each other, some rivalries are they're bigger than either guy involved. So when people ask me why he's on this list, and it's not really about the trophies, everybody knows the numbers. It's because Pete is the reason I became whoever I became on a tennis court. He's the measuring stick I built my whole career against. Every single year, I woke up trying to figure out how to get past what he was doing. And honestly, I'm not sure I ever fully did. But trying to catch him, that's what made me who I was. The first time I actually felt his game, not just watched it, felt it, it was like, it was like time slowed down for him and sped up for everybody else. I just come off watching guys like Hewitt, that whole generation of fast defensive players who turn defense into offense in a blink. And then you play this kid, Roger, and it's the opposite. He wasn't rushing anything. You'd hit a ball, it would leave your racket doing exactly what you wanted it to do, and he'd just be there early, calm, like he had all the time in the world, and you had none. I remember walking off the court after losing to him in a final. This was the 2005 US Open, actually, my last Grand Slam final ever. And I just remember thinking, this is the guy. This is the next generation's Everest. And what got me wasn't that he beat me, guys had beaten me before, it was that I couldn't find a hole. I kept looking the way you do, searching for the one place where a guy has a soft spot. And with Roger, there wasn't one. Every shot I threw at him, he had an answer that looked effortless. That's what stayed with me, not effort, ease. There's a moment though that I think about more than any match we ever played. 2005 in Dubai, before the tournament even started. And this still sounds made up when I say it out loud. They built a tennis court on the helipad of this hotel. hundreds of feet in the air, and Roger and I went up there and played. No fans, just us in a helicopter hovering nearby to film it. And I remember standing up there thinking, this is insane. We are two of the best players in the world, and we're about to hit a tennis ball off the side of a building. I was genuinely nervous. Not about the tennis, about the height. But it's funny, that image, the two of us up there, kind of says something about where he'd already gotten to in the game. People wanted to build stages for him that had never existed before. When I got inducted into the Hall of Fame, somebody asked me who the best player I'd faced was, and for years my answer would have been Pete, no question. But by then I'd played Roger at his best too, and I said it plainly, I realized he was going to be the giant of this sport. Not the best of his era, the giant of the whole thing. And I said that while he was still playing, still climbing, which, you know, that's a strange thing to admit about a guy you're still losing to. So when I put him on this list, it's not nostalgia talking, it's that feeling still of standing across the net from someone who simply didn't have a weakness for you to find. The first time I played him, I remember standing there afterward just shaking my head, honestly. I'd never seen anybody move like that on a tennis court. Not that quick, not with that much force behind every single step. I mean, you'd hit what you thought was a good shot, a shot that used to end points for me, and he'd just get there. Not barely, comfortably, and he'd send it back with even more on it than you gave him. I remember thinking, I can't fathom this guy. I genuinely could not figure out where the ball was going to come from next. But the match that really stays with me, the one I think about the most, isn't really about tennis at all. It's the last match I ever played, Wimbledon 2006. I'm coming to the end, I know it. Everybody in that stadium kind of knows it. And across the net is this young kid who's still climbing, still building toward whatever he's going to become. And he beats me. Straight sets, no real drama in the score. But I remember afterward at the press conference, somebody asked me how it felt, and I said, you know, I would have been proud to shake the hand of anybody who beat me that day, maybe a little more proud that it was him. Because I'd watched him grow, I'd seen him young, seen him improve year after year, and there was something almost right about it being him on the other side of the net when my career ended. People bring up something I said years later when I put him at the very top of my list, ahead of guys with more hardware, more headlines. And look, I wasn't trying to stir anything up. I just kept thinking about the era he had to climb through. He didn't get to dominate an empty field. He had to fight through Roger at his absolute peak, then Novak right behind him, then Murray pushing from the other side. I mean, that's not one great era to survive. That's three of them stacked on top of each other. And he didn't just survive it. He kept winning through all of it. That to me matters more than any clean stretch of dominance with nobody standing in the way. And it's not just the results either. It's the way he approaches every single point. Like, it's the most important one of the match. That kind of discipline, that concentration, you can't fake it. You watch him play and you just feel this amazement. Honestly, great admiration. I don't even know if I have the words for it. Still, after everything, there's a joy to how he competes, a passion in it that pulls you in even when you're the one losing to him. So when I think about why he belongs on this list, it's not really about a moment or a trophy. It's the whole arc of watching a kid become the guy who ended my career and somehow feeling honored that he was the one who did it. This one's different from the others because I wasn't across the net from him, not in any way that mattered. I was standing next to him, coaching him, and that's a completely different kind of seeing someone, you know? You're not trying to find the hole in their game anymore. You're trying to help them build it out further. I remember the phone call that started it all. He reached out, and my first instinct was, honestly, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if this fits into my life anymore. And it was Steffi, actually, my wife, who kind of pushed me toward it. I told her maybe I can just help him a little over the phone. That's it. That's all I've got room for. And she just looked at me and said, maybe you'll enjoy it. And I mean, she was right, the way she usually is about these things. So I go in, I get to know him, I get to know his family. and I start watching this game up close day after day, practice after practice. And what struck me, what really struck me was the defense. I've never seen defense like that. I mean, genuinely the greatest defensive player I think this game has ever produced. But here's the part that shocked me. Even after I thought I understood his game, when he needed to, he'd flip a switch and suddenly he's playing the most aggressive offense you've ever seen. It's like watching a boxer who needs to feel the glove hit him first before he even engages. He absorbs, lets you throw your punches, lets you get a little confident. And then he starts throwing his own. And by the time you realize what's happening, you're not winning points off him anywhere. Not on defense, not on offense, nowhere. Now, I won't pretend it was simple the whole way through. We didn't agree on everything. There were things about his training, his approach that we saw differently. Eventually I stepped back because I felt like if I wasn't actually helping him get better, then I was just taking up space that should belong to someone who could. That's really all it came down to. It wasn't bitter, it was just honest. But I think about something I said once about what it feels like when the guys you came up with start disappearing from the tour. When Pete retired way back, it hit me harder than I expected. It set me back for a while. And I think about Novak now, watching the guys he battled with for years finally step away one after another. That's a strange kind of lonely, being the last one still out there. Still, of everyone I've ever stood close enough to really study, and I mean really study, not just watch from across a net, he's the most complete player I've ever seen. Nothing missing, nowhere to hide. This last name is a strange one for me because I never played him, not once, not even close. He was already a legend by the time I was still a kid, figuring out which end of the racket to hold. So my relationship with him isn't built on rivalry at all. It's built on something else entirely. I think about the arena actually more than anything. Every time I walked out to play a final in Melbourne, I was walking onto a court that carried his name. And, you don't really think about that in the moment. You're too locked into the match. But afterward, lifting a trophy on a court called Laver Arena, there's a weight to that, a reminder of whose shoulders the whole modern game is standing on, whether we say it out loud or not. What gets me about him, genuinely gets me, is that he did something nobody else in the history of this sport has repeated. Winning every major in the same year, once. That's remarkable on its own. But doing it twice in two completely different eras of the game, before the sport even fully opened itself up, and then again after, that's not a record, really. That's closer to a myth. Every time somebody gets within reach of it now, the whole tennis world holds its breath, and nobody's touched it since. And here's the thing that really puts it in perspective for me. Now that I'm captaining Team World, standing on the sideline of an event that literally carries his name, I get to watch him a little differently. You see how the modern players still look at him, not like a name in a record book, but like a foundation, something the whole event is built around decades later. And when they named this competition after him, I remember thinking, of course they did. Because when you actually sit down and look at what he accomplished, what he did for this sport, it pushes him to the pinnacle of it. Just the pinnacle, full stop. There isn't really a debate to have there. So when people ask me why a guy I never shared a court with makes this list, I tell them it's not really about matches at all. Some legacies don't need a rivalry to prove themselves. They sit there quietly at the very top, while the rest of us spend our careers trying to climb somewhere near it. And honestly, every single one of the other four names on this list, myself included, we're all still writing chapters that started with him. So that's my 5. But if you ask me again next year, honestly, I might give you a different answer. That's kind of the nature of this question, isn't it? Every time I stand on the sideline now, watching this next generation come up, I catch myself thinking, maybe there's a 6th name coming. Maybe there's someone out there right now who hasn't even had his moment yet. And You know, I think that's the part people miss when they ask who the greatest is. It was never supposed to be a finished list. It's just a conversation that keeps going long after we stop playing.